it is, so you know what you're. Got it. We got to record this one. So this is the image of the pando. If it's the largest living being. Of course, this is just a drawing, but it's an aspen forest in Utah, the largest living being in the world, and all of the all of them are connected um, through their root system, and their and yet it's a forest that looks quite normal if you drive by it. And so for me, this is really an image that reminds me of this community. We're all connected in some really basic ways, and yet we're out doing our normal work. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the projects I'm working on, and then I want to talk about how I believe that it's integrative law is an idea whose time has come, and ways to get involved. Oh, come on. There. So you've been used to the cutting edge law. What if lawyers were peacemakers, problem solvers, and healers of conflicts? The old website was built in 2009. It's been decrepit for a while, but it was a major thing um, to redo it. And so it's now become a brand new site that you can go and look at for cutting edge law uh, with the different ideas in the image there in the logo. So this is from the website. These are some of the projects that I'm working on. Most of these I've been working on all along. I have to say that putting them together and organizing them has for me been transformative because I sort of didn't give credit to myself for what I was up to, and I also I didn't include as many people as I'm now including in this. So I have consulting services. I work with systems transformation. The speaking, training, and writing is actually a work in progress, but the writing part, talks about all the things that I'm doing. I have my reinventing legal education project, conscious contracts, and integrative law that are all projects that I'm working on. For some reason, this is not advancing. So most of you know about the conscious contracts work, and right now we've got trainings going on in a lot of places. Some of you are involved in some of these trainings. So we're doing some work in Silicon Valley, in Basque Country, in India. And then we're also doing training in different languages. So Spanish, Italian, Portuguese, and we've had some requests for French. So we're hoping to move into teaching it in French. So this has really by itself become a worldwide movement. I'm still doing writing and editing. The Trauma Informed Law book is in the editing process. I've now moved on to working on the Lawyers as Designers book. And then Lawyers as Changemakers has been translated into Italian. And we've had people who are talking about doing it in French, Portuguese, and Spanish as well. And some of you got a little preview of this yesterday. Deborah Herman and I are actually creating our own publishing company. Deborah has been in publishing for her whole career, and she's one of us, one of the founding members of the Renaissance Lawyers Society, which was started back in 2001. And so we're going to have our own publishing company. So right now, this is just a mock-up of what it might look like, but that we have actually registered all of the domain names, Integrative Law Press. So a lot of stuff going on. And then we have the integrative law movement and all the things that are happening in the world that I think our time has come. So the image here those are the values that this community have the community members have at one point said are the values of the community. So generosity, integrity, and authenticity came from one event, and and we then define that it's giving from abundance, wholeness, courage, love. And then the others came from the Lawyers as Changemakers book, from the interviews that I did for that book. So I heard you talking about some of the events that you did this morning around dignity. Well, that's one of our basic values. That's why that resonates for us. So I said this, and some of you probably read my LinkedIn post or the letter that I sent out. I think that our time has come. I think that the pandemic, all of the changes that we've been going through, have prepared the world for us, and that finally it's time for integrative law to, as I say, be famous. So typically lawyers have resisted change, and for years as I've been training lawyers, have been like, oh, no, maybe that will happen someday. Well, someday happened really quickly around, for example, Zoom courts. Like we went from maybe in 20 years you'll be able to do a hearing on Zoom to all hearings were on Zoom. And so that resistance to change has had to shift. And so I think that's helped to prepare us. The authenticity, we spent a lot of time in the past trying not to be human with each other as lawyers, and having our professional facades, and then we've had to bring people into our homes. They've seen what's behind us. They've met our pets and our neighbors, and all of the chaos that happens. The cat that gets in your face in the middle of your hearing, all of those sorts of things. So first that was kind of a shocking thing, but now people have kind of like, yeah, I can be real, like so what that my cat is there? Everybody, look, the cat loves us, and so I think that authenticity has helped change the world. And then the pandemic really had us see that we're really interconnected. And it made us value relationships in a way that we hadn't really paid attention before. And then the other thing that's a really great trend that I've seen is that people are leaving their jobs because they don't make a difference. There's this whole exodus, that the New York Times is writing about it, and all the major media are interviewing people about why are they leaving their jobs, and it's because they want to make a difference in the world. So, and they want to find a job that aligns with their visions and values. So this is our time. This is what we've been saying this, we've been doing this for forever. And so it's really time for integrative law to be famous. So for the last few months, since I haven't been able to travel, I've been working on some things. So this is a screenshot of the new website, the Integrative Law website, which is different than the Cutting Edge Law website. So the old content from Cutting Edge Law has been moved here. We're still updating it and taking volunteers who want to help do that. So we have we've created this website, which you can see I took the screenshot of a couple of days ago. Put the social media in, and now all people can come here and learn about integrative law movement. They can join a mailing list. They can join the community. We're going to start having events. We have an events calendar, so you see the community gathering there, and we have some scheduled regular events. So Forest Web, our sister organization, or somehow, so we're all related some way, is going to, Patrick Andrews, Jacqueline, Rhiannon, and I are going to start hosting wisdom walks, which is a journey into the Forest Web, starting September 22nd on the equinox, and we're gonna just pick topics and we're gonna have conversations. And then we're going to have community conversations beginning in September. So these are the kinds of conversations, like people say, we really ought to talk about ADHD or the Enneagram, or whatever topic you're interested in, you think other lawyers might be interested in. We'll just create a community conversation, and you can come. The community conversation is not a presentation. It's somebody will be the host, and you'll have like 5 minutes to say, "Hey, this is what I've been thinking about this. What do you all think?" And then everybody will interact together, so that everybody gets a chance to talk, um, and we'll learn together. So it's a different kind of presentation. We have now a fiscal sponsor in Renaissance Lawyer Society, and we're doing an account with Open Collective, which allows us to have transparent finances for this movement. And as I mentioned before, we've got more social media presence. So one is the Integrative Law site. We've been seeding that site in preparation for launching some things. And so some of you are members of a group on Facebook. Integrative Law also is a page, so that people who hear about it can come and visit and learn about it. And then there's and we have an Instagram account, and there's is a new page that we're going to be launching in August, which is Integrative Lawyers of the World. So we think that integrative law should be famous, and there's such fabulous people. You're getting a little bit of a taste of who's in this movement, and so we're celebrating and showcasing those people, and we created a project for it. Well, so we're launching that, um, and we're starting with six continents, six different lawyers, actually seven, because we have two in Europe that work together, and we chose them for the diversity of what they actually do, and we're going to be doing quite a campaign to introduce them, and then we're going to run that over the course of several weeks. The six people. We've got blogs. We've got uh, social media, uh, little blurbs and things like that we'll be putting out. Hold on a second. Make that go away. So all of those things and then more are things that I can't do by myself, and we're uh, what I want to move towards is actually that the integrative law movement becomes the communities. Like I've been sort of the mom, and I've been the one who like if I do it, then it happens, and then there's like not a cohesion in all the things that are going on, and I want to start having this be a community, not just a matriarchy. And so there are ways of getting involved. But I don't want people to do things unless they're really called to them. It's like, if it fulfills your vision, and we've done some really good visioning work, like if there's something you really want to do, then, and you want a container for it, come talk to us. What do you dream of doing with some people? So nobody should do anything out of obligation. Now, luckily, we have a lot of diversity among people. There are people who absolutely love detail work. You should come and talk to me. I have some detail work for you to do. And there are people who have who have grand ideas that want that we want to support your ideas. So if you have an idea, and or if you want to work on a particular project and be part of the bigger whole, which this is this diagram is what Jacqueline and some others and I have been looking at as well. There are a lot of different things that could be done: speaking, consulting, writing, products. Some of you may have seen I have a T-shirt now that says Integrative Law Gathering. Facilitators, a bookstore. The legal education, organizational partnerships. All of these sorts of things. Like, is there a place for you in this? So how do you organize that? So we actually have created a Mighty Network community. This is the screenshot. And everybody can join. We have to screen you to make sure you're not a spammer. And you can request to join. You'll be getting invitations over the course of the next weeks. And you can join a group. So the Mighty Network groups, actually, I think we've already added a group or two, but if you like administrative tasks, if you want to do something mindless for a while, sign up. Maybe you have design skills. We have a governance team, which is going to be led by Patrick Andrews. Organizational partnerships, led by Rhiannon. Reinventing legal education. We don't have a leader for that one yet, although I'm on that team. Writers, speakers, other ideas. And then holding the metaphysical space, that's Amanda Lamond is holding that group. So so you join the network, and then you go and you join one of the groups, and then those groups can communicate with each other. Or maybe you want to host an event. Maybe you want to participate in the community conversations. Or maybe you're somebody that has more money than time and you want to contribute. We have a Patreon account. We have the Open Collective, which is this kind of cartoony thing. And then we have a PayPal account. So everybody has a piece of this puzzle, and I'm looking to bring them all together. I've got 3 people who are actually independent contractors working with me that you might see around this event. Beth Roach, Carrie Raleigh, and Alyssa Johnson that are doing different pieces of this already. And Beth will take on, she's going to be the person for the admin. Carrie is the producer of the Integrative Lawyers of the World, and Alyssa's working on the social media. We have a mailing list, so you can keep in communication. And I'm going to go off share now. I can do that because things. So I'm looking to see are any of my folks. Let's see. First of all, Beth, Carrie, or Alyssa. There's Beth. She's right in the middle of my screen. But wave at everybody, Beth. Oh, you're on mute, dear.
Oh, I wasn't talking. I just realized I didn't change my screen name. It always defaults to my full name. There we go. Hi, everybody.
So, what do y'all think? Do you see a place for yourself? Do you like, do you think this is a good idea? Why the elephant? The elephant. Ilsa, thank you for asking. So the elephant actually is a symbol in a lot of cultures of strength. It's actually a matriarchal symbol. It's about relationships, but also there's the story of the 6 blind men and the elephant. And for a decade or so, I had where's my elephant? I had an elephant that I carried with me on all of my trips. That is a stuffed animal for the 6 blind men and the elephant, and I would use that as a way of saying some of us are coming at from a legal education perspective, and some of us are coming from mindfulness, and there are all of these different things, but we're really all part of a whole. So it was a teaching tool. And so the photo you see is actually that elephant, and so it became a symbol. And people like if I left the elephant at home, people would ask me about the elephant. So that's why the elephant. We're all part of a whole, and we all are bring our own perspectives. And then the symbolism is really nice. Almost every culture has the elephant as a positive symbol that we would want to embrace. It's a lot to take in, yeah.
That was a very zoomy Zoom moment. So.
Will you be sharing the slideshow, Kim, so people can watch that later?
Sure. Yeah.
Also, that video went by really fast. I mean, that was beautiful, but there was no time. There was a lot of words and no time to read any of the words. And so I felt very...
I didn't have sound when you played the video. I don't know if it was just me. I could barely hear it. Something happened.
It was just music, and I just hadn't set my computer up to play the sound. But it was meant to be fast, so really that you can.
Hungry to read all that. Kim, I want to read it. So.
Is that like a little movie that you've made, or is that an ongoing thing with the 6 lawyers? Like, that's what I was just trying to understand. What was that thing we saw?
The 6 lawyers, we've interviewed the 7 lawyers in six different continents. We've interviewed them, or Carrie has, and we've created what we've been calling it a packet with each one. There's the full interview, and then there are these outtakes that is some of what you saw, and they are representing the range of all of the different people in the movement. And so many of you are on the list of the next batch, but we curated this so that, for example, for the United States, we decided that Stu Webb was going to represent us as the pioneer from the United States. We chose Gabby from South Africa because she's a magistrate, and that brings in a whole different area. And anyway, there a lot of thought went into choosing the first group, and then now we have it's going to be an ongoing series. I kind of imagined it like Humans of New York, if you know that, where we're just profiling people, and then people can start to get a sense of the like how deep this is. So this is not like, it's not one thing. It's not about collaborative law. It's not about restorative justice. It's about a different mindset, a different way of being. And so that's what we're looking to convey. And so that video, actually, we're going to release it. It'll be out for a while, and then I think we've decided that Amara Doll is going to be the first one that we're going to launch with. And then after, and Beth, you may know more about the schedule than I do.
Yeah, I was gonna say I can hop in and kind of update people on how they can access it.
It's a trailer,
So-
yes.
Yes, so we're gonna have the trailer out kind of as like a teaser trailer for any other thing that would draw you in to want to go see this. So you can kind of get a flavor of who you will be seeing and what kind of things they will be talking about. But the idea is that on the Integrative Lawyers of the World website, we will have all of these profiles available. I believe August 1st is our launch date, but we're going to highlight one person every 2 weeks so that we can really get a community conversation focused on this particular person and their subject area and their area of the world. And so the plan is the highlight will be for 2 weeks, and it'll launch on a Sunday, August 1st. And then on the second Thursday after that, giving people 2 weeks to learn about it and find it, we're going to host a community conversation on this person and their work. And everyone will have an opportunity to come together and learn and discuss and connect over these topics. The plan is to record those conversations so that people who are in other time zones or who find these projects later can also benefit from finding other people who are interested in this topic. And then the Sunday after that, a new person will be featured. We'll have 2 weeks. The Thursday we'll have a conversation, and we're hoping to keep that kind of pattern going so that we can give each person kind of the honor that they deserve and the focus that they deserve. But also, if somebody finds the page and is from a particular part of the world and are excited to see that there's somebody on their continent doing some kind of integrative law work, that they can still have that information and that context to run with and then join in whenever that person is focused.
What she said. One of the things that's been really a lesson for me over the pandemic is the more I give away, the more can happen. And so I have lots and lots of ideas, and I've just been giving them away, or or getting people to help me with them, and so more and more keeps happening, and I know less and less about the details, but then I get to enjoy the video. Like, I got this like 2 days ago myself, like, wow, oh that looks really cool. Superheroes, of course. This is a superhero group. So, and the other thing is, like, I have never had a mailing list. I have these people, like, I am the, like, people call me the human Rolodex. So people like daily will call me up and say, who's in Kansas City? And I'll say, oh, well, there she is. Or, who's in Des Moines, or, all different places. They'll, it's like their neighbors. Tanya is here. There are several people from the Philippines who were just, like, haven't connected with the rest of the community. And so people will ask me. And so for me, this is a way of getting out of the middle and having a way that everybody can communicate with each other, as well as we can communicate as a community. I have had people ask me about Des Moines. But actually, the great thing about Des Moines is I can say, like, we have people all over the world. Des Moines, Iowa is one of the places where we have several people.
We do. We got a good little crew.
So do you see yourselves doing some of this stuff?
Like I said, Kim, I absolutely see myself being involved, and I need to sit. That was so, it was a fire hydrant. And I want to have some time to look at the screens and the mind map and all the stuff so
Yeah.
that I sort of can find myself within it. But I mean, I personally am more of a, well, okay, I'm going to look at all that. But, you know, I don't have any hesitation about absolutely feeling involved, but nothing immediately was like saying, woohoo, over here.
I appreciate that, because I don't want somebody jumping in and saying, I want to do that. And then, oh, well, that wasn't really what I imagined.
Well, and on the Mighty, I was looking at the Mighty Networks, and there is a better group description of specifically what they're doing, and there were some that went, oh, that's me. So,
Yeah. Yeah, this is the 1 minute video is the trailer that is for the Integrative Lawyers of the World. This presentation is the trailer for what's coming. So you'll get emails from Beth or me or Carrie or Alyssa. You'll maybe Jacqueline. Jacqueline's been very involved in this, even though she's not off camera right now. You know, there'll be people who will be connected to you that are necessarily not me. And I have discovered that if I send an email, I get better response than if somebody else does. But you know, I'm asking you to respond to them as well. Alala, do you have a question?
Actually, I just want to say that I just am astonished and so grateful for how you've brought this all together. And it feels, I'm easily overwhelmed by too much information, and this feels very clear to me. I mean, I just feel so safe and oriented within it. And that's quite an accomplishment for so much. And I'm just really grateful to you and your team for doing that and for doing it so well and for stepping in at this moment so that we have such a nice, firm feeling platform from which to make our next leap.
So I do have a question about all the different people who are currently offering trainings. I mean, Conscious Contracts is one of them, but there are hundreds of people doing different trainings. And at the moment, there's no one place where if you're interested in doing a training, you can go. Do you see Mighty Networks as being the place? Like, yeah, but you would have to be part of the community already in order to see those trainings. But I was just wondering how you see that all working when people are running their own individual programs. I mean, I'm seeing more and more of them.
Those can go on the calendar, which is public. But they also can be in the Mighty Network. So it depends on if your audience is people who are already involved, then Mighty Network would be the place. If it's for the like, we're really hoping that we're going to put this out, and people are going to say, integrative law, what is that? And they're going to go to the website, and they're going to be looking for, you know, like something like a community bulletin board, like, you know, like the site is actually pretty deep, and we're still experimenting with, you know, like what to feature. Like right now, there's a banner of this event. Well, what will replace that now that, you know, are we going to do another event, or you know, what are we going to put there? And so I'm hoping that some people who want to work on the website and want to work on that kind of the visibility will step forward as well.
And that's one of the things also with the trainings, Amanda, that Kim and I talked about, developing training for all of us within the integrative community, because so many of us know one particular area or are deep dive in one, but don't actually know a lot about the other areas everybody else is working on. And so we've been thinking through how can we pull together something so that when we have a practitioner list online of like, hey, public, if you're looking, these are all kinds of people. We have, not a rigid methodology, but some sort of, we all have the experience and training and exposure to and skill development in these various different areas. And that's a way for all of us also to connect with each other and learn from each other. And then, as Kim said, there's this separation of, is this for inside the community versus outside? Like, you know, I work with entrepreneurs. Okay, well, the trainings for entrepreneurs would be something probably different than I would have if I'm talking with all of you, even though you might also be entrepreneurs.
Okay, so I guess it's like questions around how we operate individually and as a community and how we create that thing, because like everybody's got their own websites at the moment and their own training. So I'm wondering, okay, so Mary Jane says, I'm doing a 2-hour legal wellness for lawyers like thing. And then like that could be put on your calendar, which helps Mary Jane get more people. But then like, how do you kind of make sure Mary Jane's training is kind of in line with what, you know, the message you're carrying? Yeah, it's kind of like how it fits together. I'm curious in my mind. It would be different if Mary Jane said, hey, I'd love to just offer a training, you know, for free to anybody in the integrative law community, as opposed to her, you know, like having her own business and wanting clients for that. So I'm just wondering how it would all fit together.
Maybe you should be on that committee, Amanda.
Well,
Yeah, this is like the beginning of something. This is not like,
yeah.
like we haven't had this place before. You know, when Cutting Edge Law was founded back, you know, in 2009, a lot of these were ideas that I had, but we didn't have, well, first of all, we didn't have people who were techie enough to do it. You know, like I had all these profiles in a public thing, and we had 100 people join, and then they didn't fill out their profiles. You know, like you know, that was back in the, you know, before people were as accustomed. You know, I was, you know, not surprising, ahead of the curve. And so now we're starting this piece, and then it's going to evolve. We've actually spent months and a lot of consultations looking for what is the best platform, and they don't make it yet. We actually have been told that what we really want is coming in 2 years. So we didn't want to wait for 2 years to go ahead and get started. And so some of the pioneers in the, you know, the Silicon Valley tech world have helped us put this together. And you know, this is the best we can do right now. And as everybody joins the Mighty Network, then we can move it to a more public facing community, and people can search. But this is our starting point. And you know,
Yeah.
you know, Jacqueline is on the committee to create products. I mean, that's how we got my T-shirt. You know, like, you know, they're, you know, like physical products. You know, products that you know, maybe we want to have people offer things through the integrative law movement, where we're doing affiliate marketing and things like that. But you know, we've got a ways to go before we're ready for that as a community.
And one of the things I think that's consistent in that chart of all the different areas you might go into that we've been thinking of is, how do we hold our values and show up with our values in every piece of this that we do? And you know, we don't want this to become something that's focused more on monetization and marketing than it is on the substance and vision behind the scenes. And so that's also what I really love about the invitation of taking time to sense and feel into, where do you truly feel called and for what reasons, and discovering where you're most aligned to take on a piece of the project.
That asked a good
Yeah.
question. Is there going to be staff? Right now, Beth and Carrie and Alyssa are all doing very part-time contract work. And I'm doing a lot, not as staff. And over time, it it would be, and Jacqueline's doing a lot. I teased her yesterday. I said maybe at some point she would be the executive director of the integrative law movement, and I would just step completely out of the way. But we've got a ways to go before that happens as well. Unless like maybe we get on Oprah this year, and we have people who are pouring money into us, and we can hire people. But yeah, I actually, and I say that and then I laugh. I want to say that I think that there's a lot of synchronicity in this movement, and that there's a lot of sort of energy from all the realms that are supporting us. And I think that we might actually make a connection. One of the people who's going to interview me in August actually has 24,000 LinkedIn followers, and writes for Above the Law, which is a community of people that we haven't even tried to reach them because they have seemed too mainstream. But I don't think they're so mainstream anymore. I think mainstream has moved towards us. Let me say it that way. Mainstream has moved towards us, and they don't know we exist, and we need to be out there and be open and notorious, and drawing them in.
Jacqueline, I know you mentioned that monetization is not the primary focus, but more and more I'm just understanding that money is energy. So in order to keep this thing energized and projects going and people getting hired and writing articles and whatever, at the moment, how are you looking at that?
Did you say Jacqueline, or did you say anybody?
Well, Jacqueline had mentioned that the aim of this is not primarily the monetization. So I'm just interested in how you plan to keep the energy of it going. You're saying Above the Law, and I know that there have been like the hope that there would be some sponsorship or donor money from somebody who believes in this. I mean, we've spoken about that, but at this stage, is there anything on the cards that would help you to be able to keep creating, updating people on websites, like all the work that goes into this? It's a lot. Or community contributions?
Yeah.
The Patreon account, the Open Collective, those are containers for the community to provide support. The people who sponsored this conference, that registered and paid money, that now is a pool of money that when this is over, we'll be looking to see how to best utilize that. Will we use it to pay some of the staff, or will we do a project with Elaine Quinn on sponsoring an issue of the Conscious Lawyer magazine and reaching people through that? So those are some of the questions. And it's like, and so far the way this has been supported is that Kim does a conscious contracts training and then takes all that money and puts it into the integrative law movement. I've been the sponsor. So I think other people care about this and are willing to also sponsor it financially.
And I think the other piece of that, Amanda, that I just wanted to mention, Kim's completely right in the spaces we have, the containers that she's created to hold this and help continue that flow of money and exchange. And as Ilse was saying of making this more differentiated and more organized, of bringing in that self-management aspect, of inviting you all in and providing the tools so that you can more easily get involved and participate. Separately, for me, I think there's a lot about how we view sales and marketing, that we really need to bring an integrative approach. And that's where I've been spending several months researching, connecting with the feminist marketing groups and Kelly Deals' work, and trying to see what pieces and what resources and which people we can pull into this to help support us all in our individual practices, but also as a community in showing up and valuing our work and having people value our work, but in a way that is not perpetuating the norms of bro tech, exploitative, oppressive, patriarchal marketing that's often ever present. And so I have some ideas developing there. I welcome anybody else who's interested in that to chat with me, because it is something that I've been researching a lot. And I think it'd be very cool to also have those skills. So many of us are entrepreneurs ourselves, and to be able to learn that and connect and support each other in how we're practicing and showing up that way, I think could be a really great use of our time as well, and help us to shift the energy so that there's this genuine, authentic energy flow coming through.
I think that one of the questions should be how we can support Kim, and not the other way around, because I think Kim's given so much of her time and money and presence. So, for example, cross-marketing is important. And for instance, I've got a new website coming up in a couple of weeks, and for sure, I'll have a space on that platform where all my followers, all my LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram followers, or whatever, YouTube and so on, would know about what's going on with the integrative law movement, or would know about what kind of training programs are being offered under conscious contracts or whatever, so that we can start generating like a flow of followers and people who are interested in buying those products, because that's a way of generating income for the movement. So I think that definitely cross-marketing, and all of us, I think, taking stock and giving back in that way. It doesn't cost you anything really, other than 10 minutes of your time to post an event on your social media and website and so on, advertising. So I think that's at least maybe another way of generating some income, and it's something that can really escalate pretty fast. It can go, if you all think about how many followers we each have, and how, just taking a small percentage of whatever that number is, multiplied by everybody in the movement, I think that's those numbers will be significant.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I want to just point out, I've actually been saying this: a rising tide raises all boats, and amplify the signal.
Exactly.
I've been, like there are when Damien has been doing a lot of work with money. Like thank you for bringing that work into this as well. But like we all do, like we all do interviews, and we all have connections, and if we all just are trained to say, and what I'm doing is part of a bigger movement, and that's the integrative law movement. Like for every article, every interview, or whatever, if we say that, it actually does. It makes it look like, oh well, there's this is not just some weird lawyer.
Right.
In Des Moines, or it's like this is part of a worldwide movement, and we're and it actually strengthens our position in the world, all of us, and so like that's part of what I'm looking at here. Is like let's be the movement we are. I mean, you were getting a piece of this. Most of the Europeans are on holiday. Damien sent me a message earlier that he's on holiday, but he's joined us, for just a little bit. But lots of people are on holiday. We're, we just like picked a day in July that it turns out a lot of the people who are, really involved with us couldn't make it. And, you're getting a piece of this is the movement. These are the people that, it warms my heart when you meet each other, but I know all of you. So I know what's out there, and let's just let's speak it that way.
Kim, yes.
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask you in terms of marketing. Sometimes I'm first I mean, in terms of generating money, some, for instance, green companies, they have labels. So something like an integrative lawyer label, like for law firms that want to promote themselves as integrative lawyers, like with training. Is it something that could work? Like I know in France, they have labels for everything, for meat, for organic goods. So something like this, that a label that could be provided actually by the Integrative Law Center, I would say, just
I
to
think
have an income. I know maybe it's narrow-minded, but it's just something that comes out from my mind.
we've talked about that. I only heard part of what you said because my computer froze and I've turned off my camera so I don't lose connection. But that idea, like that, we would have the integrative law seal of approval or something like that. We've talked about that. Yeah, it's tricky. It's a lot of quality control. We'd need a group that did nothing but evaluated.
Yeah.
And then there's the issue of if somebody we've rubber stamped is involved in any kind of scandal or something like that, when we then we get drawn into it. It's an idea that we have been bouncing back and forth quite a bit.
Okay.
The B Lab, it's a heavy lift. Those conversations, Ilse, that you're talking about, race and colonialism and those sorts of things, those are I think those are part of the deep conversations we need to be having as a movement, and bringing those ideas. For those who don't know Ilse, that's her expertise, is having those kinds of conversations in South Africa. She does amazing work. I'd love to have you involved in engaging in those. We have that, the people who have decided that it's a nice brand that are out there. And so Alala, I think at one point tried to trademark integrative law, and it was not possible, which means, it's out in the public. Nobody else can do that, but it's, that's an issue as well.
Well, I'm noticing the timing as we're coming up. I invite anybody else who has some comments or something they want to share, put in the chat, or feel free to share now. But also would like to invite, if we want to take a bio break before we shift into the breakout rooms where we can keep these conversations and maybe connect one-on-one or in small groups, or keep it going in the main room. Or actually, I'm sorry, Kim, is the inhale next, right? Not the exhale. Okay, so this next part would be you sharing in front of all of us your particular piece or what's calling you. And you don't have to share your vision. If you want to share with us what's going on in your week, in your life, in your career, this is a space for you to connect with people who understand also. So it doesn't have to be something inspiring or taking charge. This can be just a space to connect with others. So if anybody has final, leave the space for you.
A technical question, that flow chart that you've created, is that online somewhere? Because that's one of the things that went by so fast. I'd really like to study that to see, which alleyway.
And that was that particular one was drawn a few months ago, and there may actually be some other things that have evolved. but it's part of the presentation, and I'm going to share the presentation.
Great, thanks.
And we recorded this.
Great.
Yeah. So thank you all. Thank you for being part of this movement. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Kim, for being the matriarch and for getting us all started and for the legacy that you're leaving day by day. And that's growing. It's changing the planet.
My word for the year is legacy. So
Yes.
thank you.
Thank you.
Not sure I want to smash the matriarchy.